Good morning, Bucknutters. It is Thursday, March 6th, pretty sure, 2025. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. This podcast covers the national champions. I will be joined in just a minute by Bill Kurelic and Mark Porter. We're going to dive deep today on one linebacker prospect that is going to be the subject of Mark's Buckeye and the Sky second edition this week. The first edition obviously ran earlier this week and focused on a quality Ohioan. You'll need to look that up to get a load of that. Now, it was Elbert Rock Hill for those who are playing at home. Today's is Tyler Atkinson, linebacker out of Georgia, tremendous prospect. We're also going to talk about running back recruiting, and you're going to want to think Georgia. As I look at the list of guys we're going to discuss, very, very prevalent looking in the Peach State for running backs and Carlos Locklyn, and we will dive deep on that. But first, got three sponsors today, and appreciate you guys for being avid consumers of the products we've been putting out, and this is a really good one. It's called Ridge Wallet. I don't know how many of you guys carry around those bulky wallets, those leather wallets anymore. I don't know if those of you, if you got the produce blue rubber band wrap. I've said before, if you're carrying one of those, you do what you want. That usually means you're G'd up. But these things are amazing, dude. Look how big it is compared to your phone. It's incredible. Holds exactly what you need. It's tight. You got a little strap here and stuff. This is the color I chose, kind of a sand color. They've got a million colors, a million's a stretch, but it is some good stuff. And for a limited time, Ridge is having a crazy sale. You can get it to 40% off your order by going to ridge.com/Bucknuts. That's ridge.com/Bucknuts for up to 40% off. And I'll tell you what's really cool about this, and I learned this. Scammers can now like walk by you and use some kind of digital thing. But this thing has RFID blocking technology, and digital pickpockets are a no-go when you have this. So that's solid. And like I said, over 50 colors and styles. It's not just functional, it's personal. You can get black forged carbon fiber look. I think that's what Dave got. You can get your favorite NFL team on there. You guys are shocked I don't have the Cowboys on there, but still, sleek, durable design. It is a quality product. No matter what you pick, free shipping, 90-day risk-free trial, lifetime warranty on all products. But 40% off if you go to ridge.com/Bucknuts. They're going to ask you where you found out. Please let them know it was Bucknuts. So once again, ridge.com/Bucknuts. You get 40% off. All right. All three ads today are good. Nothing about your lower nether regions. All right. The great Bill Kurelic, the Dean, the great Mark Porter, the Grand Poobah. He's trying to get the fog out. It's all right. We can deal with it. Here's the deal. We're going to talk. I told the guys we're going to talk about Tyler Atkinson at some point today. He's the feature of our Buckeye in the Sky second this week. But we're going to start off talking a little bit about running back recruiting, Bill. Carlos Locklyn has done quite a good job here, I would say. His first year, he's sending two guys off to the league, Travion Henderson and Quinshon Judkins. If anybody saw Dave Biddle's wrap-up of one of the bigger mock drafts yesterday that had the Dallas Cowboys getting Quinshon Judkins in the second round, Ted McMillan in the first round, I told Dave, if this is the draft, I'm probably going to have a hard time keeping my pants on. But I digress. We are very lucky to have Carlos Locklyn in the fold. I think he has taken running back recruiting, in my opinion, to another level. And we're going to start to reap the benefits of that. This year, you're going to have James Peebles and C.J. Donaldson likely back there. Who knows who else could contribute. But he is out on the trail, and he has targeted some big-time players. We brought you Savion Hyder last week. Arguably, and it's a good argument, the number one running back in the class out of Virginia. But he has not stopped there, Bill. I'm going to give you a name, and then you give me the latest. And then we'll go from there. Yesterday, you had a story in there about Derek Cooper. What's very interesting to me, Bill, is he's going after guys who have already committed elsewhere but gone back on that commitment. Derek Cooper once committed to Georgia. Your thoughts? where he's from, and with each guy, if you could talk about maybe where he's from and maybe quickly what type of back he is.
Well, Derek Cooper is from Hollywood, Florida, familiar school if you're a Jeremiah Smith fan, which most Buckeye fans are. Derek Cooper, Chaminade Madonna High School, one of the top running backs in the country. In fact, in the 247 Sports rankings, he is the number 2 running back in the country. Derek Cooper is a 6'1", about 205-pound running back. And he has an official visit set up to Ohio State the last weekend in November. That will be June 20th to June 22nd. Absolutely one of the top running backs in the country. I've seen him in person at Ohio State at working out at one of their camps, and he's the real deal. He's an outstanding back. So he will be, I guess you'd say, one of the last to get an official visit of the running backs, if not the last in the class. So he's a guy that we've known about for a while, ever since Ohio State had him at camp and all.
For those of you playing at home, he's on the screen right now, Bill. All right. Priority-wise, let's kind of slot these guys in there. We know Savion Hyder would top the list. On their board, where do you think Derek Cooper would be? We'll try and put everyone in context here because he can fly.
Yeah, I think on the board you're looking at 3 or 4 guys at the top, and we're talking about 6 guys that Ohio State has offered a scholarship to that they have a chance at. Or and when I say a chance, I mean it wouldn't be a huge upset if Ohio State landed any of the 6. They're not necessarily a favorite for all the 6, certainly not a favorite for all the 6, but they have a legitimate chance at all the 6. I would put at the very top Hyder, and then I'd have Jonathan Hatton and Derek Cooper up there too. Carson Baker I like a lot as well. So
let's talk about Jonathan Hatton out of Texas, one-time Oklahoma commit. We had already a request from Bruce, so you mentioned him in the top 3. Let's do the details.
Yeah, he was at one time committed to Oklahoma, and it doesn't happen very often that a kid goes back to his original commitment, that he decommits, and then goes back, but it has happened. It does happen on occasion. And interestingly enough, Jonathan Hatton, he's a 6 foot, 205-pound running back out of Sabalo Steele High School in Texas. Interestingly enough, he has official visits set up to both Ohio State and Oklahoma. He has an official to Ohio State the weekend of June 6th to 8th. And then he has Oklahoma the last weekend during the summertime, June 20th to 22nd. So, he's a kid that, again, it doesn't happen often, but it's not out of the question he could go back to Oklahoma. Alabama is another top choice of Jonathan Hatton. Tennessee is another top choice. And, again, he is one of the top running backs in the country.
I don't know if it's his socks, but he looks like a little bit of a long strider to me.
In fact, he's the number 5 running back in the country, by the way.
Right on.
247 rankings.
These next 2 guys, Bill, and then we have an Ohio guy. Actually, 4 guys left. 3 from Georgia, 1 from Ohio. So we'll save Mr. here and for that. Let's talk about Jay Lamar out of Georgia.
Yeah, Jay Lamar, he doesn't, as of the past week, he did not have an official visit set up yet to Ohio State. But, I tend to think that happens. Again, he is one of the country's top running back prospects. And, I'd pretty much put him up there with the other guys as far as, just ability-wise. But, again, maybe not quite in my mind with Hyder, Cooper, and Hatton. But, nonetheless, one of the top running backs in the country.
It does seem like as you watch this, it also shows you that it's an embarrassment of riches just in terms of guys they look at. I mean, every guy we pull up here looks like the best kid that's ever put on pads on a Friday night in their town. So, and I understand that. But it does look like these are your every down, everyone's in the same kind of mold back here.
This kid looks a little lighter than the previous 2. I was just thinking that the first 2 look the same, even kind of Hyder. But this one
Okay.
might be more of the third down back. He doesn't seem to have the thicker legs and the thicker torso of some of those other guys, but he certainly has the jetpack strapped to his back.
And by the way, I don't think I mentioned he's from Moultrie, Colquitt County, Georgia, and he's very similar though in size. Doesn't have the thickness maybe, but he is also about 6 foot, 205 pounds.
Wow.
I'll tell you one thing. They can all run like the wind. I mean,
Yeah, he looks really
it's
good for
unbelievable.
205 pounds.
Georgia right now, I would consider the favorite for him, by the way. He's got officials set up to Georgia, Florida State, Miami, and Auburn so far.
All right, Bill. Carson Baker, another Georgian, this time out of Langston Hughes. That's same high school as Jelani Thurman and another guy who used to go here, but we'll digress. Your thoughts on Carson Baker and then CJ Givers, also out of Georgia.
Yeah, Carson Baker, as you mentioned, Dan, he's out of Langston Hughes High School, and that's, as you mentioned, a familiar name to Ohio State fans that follow recruiting. He also is pretty close to the same mold, 6 foot, about 200 pounds. Fairborn, Langston Hughes, as we mentioned, and he does have 4 official visits set up right now. First one to Clemson, May 30th. Then he has, after that, he's got Florida State, June 6th, Ohio State, June 13th to 15th, and then he ends with Texas A&M, June 20th. So pretty good list, a great list of schools there that he is considering. And again, a really, really talented kid.
CJ Givers, also out of Georgia.
Yeah, CJ doesn't, last I checked with him, which was about a week ago or so, did not have an official visit set up to Ohio State. And interestingly enough, out of the 6 guys we're talking about, CJ is the last one that Ohio State offered a scholarship to. But still, nonetheless, a really interesting kid, and that he's talent-wise, I think right up there with those guys. He's from Roswell, Georgia, Fellowship Christian School. And the thing about CJ, that just from talking to him, I get the feeling that Ohio State, if they really would press for his services, he really likes Ohio State a lot, basically.
He's fast at football.
He's got 3 official visits set right now: Georgia Tech, Duke, and North Carolina State for CJ.
So he's a little bit, that's not in the normal offer list. And it sounds to me like when I hear the word fellowship, it might not have been the highest level of football. Was that fair to say?
Yeah, he's not, it's not a big school like some of these other guys come from. It's not a Dayton, or I'm sorry, a Chaminade. When I think of Dayton, sometimes I think of Chaminade.
Dayton Chaminade CJ.
That's right. But it's not a Chaminade Madonna high school. Let's say that.
Gotcha. All right. So now this is where we come to, and my guy asked the question, Bruce Beals. So Favor is here. And by that, I mean Favor Aki out of Delaware Hayes, our Ohioan that we've been tracking. Is it accurate, according to Bruce Beals, or Bruce Beals is asking, is Favor simply in a holding pattern now, Bill, with Ohio State, and we see how other dominoes fall? Is that how you see it?
Not necessarily. I think that, first of all, I think Favor is a kid you watch on film. He's pretty darn impressive. He had a great junior season. I think if he comes to camp and shows his stuff to the coaches in person, I think he could move up and be with some of these other guys. Like I said, he's a really talented running back out of Delaware Hayes High School, and not too much different in the mold that we're talking about. 6 foot, about 190, 195 pounds. His official visit list right now is pretty good. USC, June 6th, Pitt, June 12th, and Miami, the Hurricanes, that is, June 20th. So, you talk about USC and Miami, that's pretty darn strong right there.
Yeah. Although just watching the tape, it looks to me, I'll just cursory mark. You tell me if I'm wrong. The other guys look faster to me.
Boy, I was hoping that someone else didn't notice that, because I'm rooting for Favor. And I was like, okay, we just saw like 3 or 4 in a row. Yeah, this is going to be a 40-time test in camp type offer if Favor gets it. the films look a lot alike, but he doesn't pull away with the ease of the other guys.
It's the burst.
Yeah, and he may have been 190 pounds on this film because I know that's what he was listed as the season. Some of those other guys were a little heavier. So you can see Ohio State has done the evaluation, and I've been telling people this for the years. You want to know the truth, watch all of them back to back to back, and when you do that, you'll pick out. I mean, Dan, it's the subtlest thing. I'm surprised that your eye kind of saw that, because as I was waiting for my third or fourth play. Yeah, I don't want you to hurt yourself, patting yourself on the back there, but I was on my third or fourth run going, give me a little more juice, and then I can say your exact, because Bill said it. It's pretty much like what we just watched. I mean, it's really close. Maybe to the naked eye, you'd say he's in there, and you know what? He is in the mix. It is a heck of a film for Faber, but boy, you put on those national kids, and they were running. I mean, you said it. The best kid in their town, in the history of their town, is probably on those tapes. Yeah, I mean that's some pretty rare air. But do not count out Faber. I mean, 6 months of training, he may show up at the camp and be different than what we're seeing on this film right now. And I'd almost count on that. Is it different enough? Does he roll into camp at 200 pounds and run the 4.5 or the 4.51?
And look, that speed is intoxicating that we're talking about, but you don't have to be an Olympic sprinter to be a great running back. It's interesting now that as Henderson and Judkins are being, broken down, and people are taking a scalpel to their skills and stuff. It is unbelievable how many national people referred to the run Judkins had where he got caught from behind and overdo that. First of all, in the NFL, you never runs for 70 yards anyway. Getting caught from behind, if that happens to happen one time, so be it. But you saw them run the 40, and so what Mark is saying is so true. Speed is a comparative thing. Whether he runs a 4.5 and runs a 4.6, whatever their time, it doesn't matter. It's that day who is the fastest. It's all relative. So when they do that really cool thing, that overlay thing, which, by the way, I could sit and watch that for hours. I just pick out different guys and have them run against each other. Why they haven't set that up?
I have the overlay of me, you, and Bill running the 40. Do you want me to pull it up?
Yeah, you guys would be on the separate screen. I'd be having a sandwich before you got there. But it's just incredible. But then you watch them run in the 40, and Judkins was a stride behind, if that. If that. And Judkins had the highest broad jump of anyone ever, highest vertical of anyone ever, weighing 220 pounds. He's bigger than you think. So those kind of things end up playing into it. It's not just that sprinter speed, but if you have all that and the sprinter speed, that's when you become, Travion Henderson or a draft pick and those guys and look, we may never, ever get a combination like that here again. That was a lucky fall of dominoes in some ways and transfer portal love, but we will get to that.
Dan, when Henderson and Judkins, they did the overlay of them, and I know I sent it to you guys, and it was literally a head difference between the 4.43 and the 4.48 because they were 0.5 different on the watch. But it's remarkable that 0.5, when you see it in an overlay, was almost negligible. I mean, it was almost, not even a half of a yard after 40 yards. So, I mean, to say that Henderson is that much faster than Judkins every single day of the week. And then here's the one point you didn't mention. Throw 5 or 10 pounds of pads on these guys, and who can run. Yeah, who can run with that extra weight? Because some sprinters that are 150 pounds, you put 3 or 4 extra pounds on them and their times change. So these bigger guys, they can handle wearing pads, and it's like no big deal. I run, fast with anything on.
Generally speaking, it's a case-by-case basis on just how an individual plays with pads on. There are some guys that won't slow down. There's some guys that will. The combine is really a track meet, though. I mean, in terms of how you prepare for it now, how you run, etc. But one thing they've started to do is clock your top miles per hour at any point in time in the run. And the kid from Texas, I think it's Bond, who ran his mouth about running a 4.2. He did not run a 4.2. I think he was 4.4 flat, but he had the highest miles per hour. So at some point in time, he was peaking in there. He just couldn't maintain it. But they've got all.
I'll debate that for a second because I read something where Tez Watkins, the receiver from Oregon, weighed in like 150, 155 pounds, and he was supposed to fly in the 40, and I think he ran a 4.51 or something.
Case by case.
But I heard he had the fastest miles per hour, which, kind of flew in the face of his 40 time. So maybe it was a tweet that I read, but you're right. This miles per hour and top speed is now something that is very coveted. And I think I told the story of the Browns, a couple of weeks ago when they were losing to Denver and there was an interception return and a couple of their offensive players chased down the guy. And the head coach pointed out that I love that the highest miles per hour of the year was in a meaningless moment where you guys were giving your heart to us in a game that was already out of control. We were going to lose, but we know you didn't give up by your effort, because of the miles per hour shown. So that is definitely being studied after every game, practice. I mean, these kids wear these monitors at practice, and I'm sure as soon as they go in there, there's a list on a computer somewhere who ran today. And if Henderson is out there running 18 miles an hour, you're like, hey, Henderson, we know you're a 21 mile an hour guy. Like, where was it today? You sick? You got a pull? Like, what's going on? So, don't be cutting your reps, short on us, or we're going to know.
These monitors are so tight now that they wear them all the time. And like, if you didn't get a good night's sleep and you get enough sleep, they sometimes will hold you out of practice. They're monitoring that kind of stuff. It's nuts. So, excuse me. Got to read another ad, and this is another good one. Gooder sunglasses. These things are the best. Stylish Sunnies start at only $25 a pair. I've talked about this ad nauseum. I was the guy that would spend a bunch of money on glasses. First time I would leave the house and take them off, toast. So I got 2 pairs of these Gooders, and I have loved them ever since. Dave showed you he was just at spring training out in Arizona. He's got a Gooder tan line here, so he's good to go. If you need a new pair of Sunnies, Gooder is giving our Bucknuts Morning 5 listeners free shipping. You go to gooder.com/Bucknuts and use code Bucknuts for free shipping. They got a 30-day money-back guarantee and 100% satisfaction. Gooder.com/Bucknuts and use Bucknuts for free shipping. All different styles, all different flavors. Very good stuff. And we hope you enjoy those. Like I said, keep buying it so they keep advertising and things are good. All right, Mark.
Hey, Dan, before we leave running back talk, we got to mention one guy because I think this is a unusual story a little bit. Ohio State, Carlos Locklyn, he has been very aggressively recruiting guys and done a fantastic job offering guys. Last night, he offered a scholarship to a 2029 running back.
Help me out, Bill. What's that even mean? What's 29 right now?
That means that he is not in high school yet.
Good Lord.
2029 means that he would be an 8th grader right now.
Wow.
Mackay Buchanan from California.
Say the name again.
Mackay Buchanan from California. And it wasn't his first scholarship offer. Mackay has, I believe, double-digit offers right now going into high school. So I think
that is something.
Yeah.
That is, Bill, how common is that? Let's put this in
not
context.
Very common.
Okay.
I probably could maybe need both hands to name in the last few years, last many years, guys that far out getting a scholarship offer, at least from schools like Mackay has offers from. Ohio State now, Texas A&M, I'm going off the top of my head, Memphis, Arizona. Those are some, Ole Miss. Those are some of Mackay's scholarship offers at this point. But Mackay messaged me last night and said Ohio State had offered him a scholarship. So that's just kind of an interesting story before we get off of running back recruiting.
Definitely a name to watch. I just can't get my mind around the 8th grader. Some kids grow early, I guess. Good Lord. All right. We are now going to talk about a guy who Mika Hanna says is the best linebacker he ever seen in high school on video. No pressure, Mark. Let's talk about Tyler Atkinson. You might as well push pause here. And Bill, tell the story that we always tell about Tyler Atkinson when you guys first saw him, and then take it away. Mark. Bill?
Yeah, Bill, go ahead.
Yeah, okay. The when you said Mark there at the end, Dan, you threw me off for just a second, but it involves Mark and I. We're at camp at Ohio State, and we're just now talking about 2029 kids going into high school. Well, Tyler Atkinson showed up at Ohio State's camp summer going into his freshman year in high school, and whoa, Ohio State offered him a scholarship. He was kind of a skinny kid at that point, but the talent was just unbelievable. It was easy to see that this kid was going to be one of the top edge guys in the country in a few years, and put on a show that Mark and I certainly remember.
So Mark, he's listed in the 24/7 Sports database here. 6'2", 210 pounds, from Loganville, Grayson. I believe they won the state title. Take it away.
Yeah, seeing him at the Ohio State camp that young, he stood out like a sore thumb, and it was his speed, his twitch, his get-off, explosion. And then you kind of asked yourself, will this kid ever grow into a man? 6'2", 210, yeah. And just to piggyback on what Bill said, these eighth grade offers are about as rare as can be. I think you're playing with fire when you offer eighth graders. You really got to have a track time or multiple track times to know what you're dealing with. But yeah, I think Chris Henry was a freshman offer, and talking to Ohio State at the time, they were even hesitant because we said it a couple, podcasts ago. The earlier you start messing with these recruits, the more margin of error there is, even for the best evaluators, even for the guys at the tip of the spear who don't get fooled. If you want to try to fool yourself, that's where I'd start messing around, is in eighth grade, and you could get in trouble. Now, this film is electric. This kid, I know Bill said edge rusher. Yeah, he does that, but you can line him up in the middle, and his pure speed, that triggering ability. I mean, he was at a standstill reading, and all of a sudden he puts his foot in the ground. He's gone. And then to Bill's point, off the edge, it's just too much speed for tackles to handle. I put in my notes, will he be a 230 or 40 pounder that can handle an offensive tackle and come off the edge? Because no 210 pounders are coming off the edge. He just knocked that quarterback.
Oh my God.
Yeah. The triggering ability is special. The sideline to sideline stuff is special. And I know we're getting into this, and Dan gets so excited he forgets to turn it off. And I know he wants to make this premium for people, but it is an exciting film to watch.
That hit was as good of a play as I've seen in a long time. Good Lord. Talk about triggering. There's a guy in between them, and he literally it's like the Matrix. He just goes right through him. All right, I'm sorry. I got geeked there. Good Lord.
No, I knew it was going to happen. I was ready for you to take over when you saw it. But you're right. I mean, and Dan, we've come out of the gates with these Buckeye in the skies with some kids that in the Matrix, like they are doing things and moving around. This is the top
of the food chain here, man.
Yeah, I mean, we're really getting the palate wet for Buckeye fans, where Bill, do not give us bad news on any of these kids, because it stings a little more when they're this good. Yeah, like that 230, 40-pound thing, that may change who he is. I mean, he is an electric, twitchy player now. You go to 230 or 240, Coach Mariotti better be with you every step of the way. Kind of, okay, we added 5. Let's go speed check. Let's go agility check. Yep. Let's see if you're not losing anything. And the second we feel like you're losing what's making you special, we're going to, put you on the freeze at what weight. Now, I'd love for him to get bigger, but I don't want to change what I just saw in film. And if he's only a 215 or 220-pound linebacker his whole career, I'll sign that piece of paper right now. Fine with me. There are plenty of guys that run around out there at a lower weight, but what they do is special the way they run. So
especially now, Mark, the game's changed. You know what I'm saying? Levon Kirkland is not playing middle linebacker at 270 anymore.
Levon Kirkland, yes. And like when I did my comparisons to him, I had to go back to who are the fastest linebackers in the history of Ohio State. And Shazier was famous for being, super fast in the 40, but we've had a bunch of them. I mean, there was a nice Jerome Baker and Dante Booker, and there were some guys that could run, but Atkinson can run.
Yeah. He's like he's got some Darren Lee in him, but just
That was
with
the other one I
extra-
put in there.
Extra, but just like that extra propulsion that is just staggering. And it's clear, especially for him, he's so decisive. You know what I'm saying? Like, one of the ways you get the most out of your speed is you have nothing holding you back mentally. He is cutting it loose, man. You know what I'm saying? There's no triggering issue with him. That's unbelievable. Bill, please tell us that we are going to get him and that all the recruiting is going to work out. Who's recruiting him? Who's been on it? Anything you can talk about with him, we want to hear about.
Well, obviously, Georgia's in there. You know, he's from the state, and they're all over him, just like Ohio State. But you know, I would hesitate to say, you know, to pick somebody right now. I guess if I absolutely had to pick, I'd probably maybe go with Georgia, maybe because that's where he's from. But he hadn't really tipped his hand much at all. You know, we're talking Georgia, we're talking Ohio State, Alabama, Tennessee, Texas, and Auburn. I would say those are the schools right now to look for Tyler Atkinson. He has not scheduled his official visits yet. So, you know, he can take unlimited official visits. Maybe he visits all those schools. We'll see.
So we will have that Buckeye in the Sky up for you shortly here. It is definitely worth the price of admission. And understand this, if you go look at Tyler Atkinson, he is almost a pro playing high school football in terms of how he markets himself. He's on it. So let's be clear on this. This is going to be an NIL recruitment. There are certain guys above the fray, and you know what? Deservedly so. If I was Mr. Atkinson, I may be driving an Italian automobile right now with a down payment on the agent because that dude is special. Defensive prospect-wise, I'm not sure you could rate him any higher. I mean, will he end up turning out the way he does, like he should? And Mark always tells us about being worried about that. But in terms of just like what we've seen so far, I would have to say he is very impressive. And I will tell you this, these guys are very impressive. We will let them go. We'll be back on Tuesday with the Dean and Mark Porter. But first, I have one more ad for you guys, and it's very important because you need to be well fed. And one of the ways to stay well fed is with Factor Meals. 2 minutes, delicious food, chef-made, gourmet meals. They make eating well easy. Dietitian approved, ready to heat and eat in 2 minutes. I'm telling you, if you're one of those anti-TV dinner people, you had company. I was with you. This is not that. It's incredible. I don't know how they've done it, but before someone else figures it out and charges more, get to these guys. Feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies. They got breakfast, grab-and-go snacks, more add-ons, 40 options, 8 dietary preferences. Eat smart with Factor. Here's how you do it. You get started at factormeals.com/factorpodcast. Then you'll use Factor Podcast to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. Factor Podcast at factormeals.com. Then you enter in Factor Podcast as the code. Get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. I'm telling you, it is worth the price of admission. If you stuck it out this far, you are a true buck nutter. Thank you very much, and have a good one. Nutters of Buck.